I got what you need, we gon' give you what you need. Come f with me, MCS Needs, it's about that time.
All right, another episode of What You Need, the podcast. I'm here with David Robertson. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, I'm a South Carolina native. Been here all my life. Once a single parent. Also, a person who decided to go to college for my degree and expand my horizons. Computer engineering, but of course, like any other parents, you find have to make some choices on your dreams, aspiration, or taking care of your children. So I had to make the latter, but also decided to make a business for my family and start a business for my family and to provide. So this is a person who's a go-getter, and strive to do what I can for my community, my family, and also those around me.
Okay, that's what's up. What got you into politics and?
Well, unfortunately, my son, Daniel Robertson, geologist Daniel Robertson, went missing out there in the Sonoran Desert in 2021. I've been out there, just like what happens a lot of times in our communities. We've been underserved communities, we're not getting the same action that we should be getting from law enforcement. So that caused me to start my own searches for my son, my own investigations. But in the process of that, I have grew a passion to help as many Americans as I can, because I have started learning a little bit, started educating myself when it comes to missing American cases. We have 600,000 Americans go missing every year in this country, 3,000 a day, over 2,000 of which are children. But the kicker for me was that 40% of the missing American cases are people of color, and we only make 13-14% of the population. So I vowed that I was going to do what I can to help, not just help Black Americans, but all Americans, to bring our families home.
So we get to the next question. What federal actions do you believe would most effectively lower costs for working families in the Midlands?
Well, we have to do a couple things. When it comes to, for instance, younger folks who coming out of college and high school, as a matter of fact, we have to get corporate out of our housing. We have corporations coming in, buying up all the houses, and people driving up that cost for single parent homes. So now people not being able to afford homes. Also, we have to look out for the parts of our community when it comes to bringing in federal aid to our healthcare system. We have here in our state, here for South Carolina, we have a Medicaid system where Medicaid expansion is not there for Obamacare, because a lot of people, we have 1.2 million Americans relying on Medicaid here, and 1.5 on Medicare, and a lot of those are veterans. So we can bring down the healthcare costs. That will also help with the pockets of Americans here, because we have a lot of people who just don't have health insurance, for instance. Because of that, go to the ER. That money's coming out of taxpayers' dollars. So it's rising the cost of everything. So also we have to tackle this inflation that we got going on in our country as well. And to be able to do that, we have to find ways to bring that inflation down. We definitely have to bring that inflation down. When it comes to medications, a lot of Americans here are taking medicines right now. We have to put caps on their prescriptions. We already have caps on the cost of things like insulin, but there's also some other drugs and major things that people should be able to have some relief on when it comes to that. And lastly, when it comes to young people coming out of college again, to have a debt that they can't afford, be able to have some incentives there for people who have majors, like for instance, they're going to school to be a doctor or a teacher, some of the things that we need in our rural communities, for instance, give them tax breaks and things like that so they can get more money in their pockets to put back into the economy, so that'll help the economy as well.
Okay, all right. So also, how would you expand access to capital, mentorship, and federal programs for small businesses, especially in underserved communities?
Yeah, and that's the issue. When I was going to school here in Columbia, we had a program called Lynn Haven, for instance. And what that is, we're Wilson High School, we started learning little trades and things like that to help us as we, for those who just want to go into entrepreneurships or not even go to college, but also make you competitive for some of the manufacturing jobs that was coming into the state. Having us ready for those types of industries that's coming in. So we're, like I said, South Carolina is the fastest growing state in our country, and we have new industries coming in. We want to make sure we have these trade programs for our students to learn more about AI, to get them ready for to compete in the global market. Also, other programs that would just teach us about the renewable energy industry, because that is very big and that brings jobs into our industry. But the underserved communities, we have to make sure those federal dollars are actually going to where they were meant to go. A lot of times we have small businesses, again, being 99% of the driving force in our state. Minority businesses are being squeezed out when it comes to being able to get the capital they need to even drive their own community. And the way they're being squeezed out is that we have those who come from other communities get incentives to build in our communities, and what they do is build their stores and to make money, but then they'll take those same dollars out of the community, and those dollars are being pulled out of the community. So what I want to do is stop the incentives for building into the marginalized or the underserved communities, have them stop being incentivized to do that, and incentivize the business that we already have, the entrepreneurs that we already have in our communities, so to help them grow and start their business and keep those dollars back in our own communities.
Understood. So we're going to get into infrastructure, broadband, and community investments. Which infrastructure needs in the SC, roads, water system, broadband, public transit, and most urgent, how would you prioritize them?
A lot of times we do think about infrastructure, we think about roads and bridges, but it's more than just that. We have crumbling schools, we have, like you said, the power lines I was talking about earlier. But the way I would do that is that the priority is in our underserved communities and our rural communities. Broadband means a lot. We have fast internet. For instance, we have new industries that are coming into that community. But if you don't have, for instance, our rural community, use that as an example, a lot of farmers want to have better yield in their crop. There's a lot of equipment and things that can be utilized to achieve that goal, but they don't have the internet to do so. When it comes to our schools, we have a lot of students who may do well academically, but they don't have the infrastructure to back them. For instance, the schools, again, are crumbling and things like that. Children are not able to even stay into the schools. So we have to think about those things. So I'm going to prioritize our underserved communities to make sure the federal dollars are going exactly where they're exactly intended to go. By doing that, I can put some, people don't like the word earmarks, but you can earmark some of the money to go exactly, and then put some oversight of these state legislators who make decisions on where these dollars are actually going.
Okay. So how would you ensure that federal infrastructure dollars are spent transparently and benefit local workers and contractors?
Well, I had an idea that I think would work, and that is to almost like a public infrastructure where we can actually go online and see where those dollars going in real time. And then that way we can hold some of our legislators accountable, so we can actually see physically where the money going, what is it meant for, and where it's going. So I think public transparency, and that way we'll actually put the fire on legislators to actually use that dollar exactly where it was meant to go.
Okay. So you emphasize faith, service, and community in your platform. How do those values shape your legislative decision making?
Well, I walk by faith, not by sight. So I have a spiritual background. I grew up apostolic, and one of the things my mom taught me was faith. And faith is action word. So anytime that you want to do anything, especially when it comes to our communities, we have to put some action behind it. And so what helping for me is what can help me to to build what I have been doing so far is the fact that I did, like for instance, I didn't grow up grew up without a father, and so for my children, I remember just giving those promises to be that father for them, but also to be a father. You also be an example for others in your community that you don't know is actually watching. So I try to do everything and try to model myself in a way that is going to help not just my family, but also help the community, those in the community around me. So that was the building blocks of everything I'm trying to do now.
All right, that's cool. Also, how would you ensure the rural, suburban, and urban communities in SC will receive equitable attention and resources?
Yeah, right now we have the closing of hospitals in our rural communities. I have 5 counties, and we're finding that a lot of people, like for instance, Barnwell, South Carolina, they would have to go all the way to Augusta, Georgia, or North Augusta just to go see a doctor, to some of the major hospitals. So, or the emergency room, sometimes take them 40 minutes just to drive to get to emergency care. Okay. We have crumbling schools, just the rural communities being left behind. And so those things have been prevalent in our district for a long time. People who's been representing this district has been overlooking those things that's been falling apart. Yeah. I'll give you one quick prime example if I can. Yeah. I have been arguing the fact that we have, for instance, power lines that go down. You know, South Carolina is one of those states that can have strong thunderstorms and also hurricanes that can hit. We had a Hurricane Hugo that hit well into the 90s. I was in my last campaign talking about how, you know, power lines are going down in our rural communities. We have people who were relying on CPAP machines, for instance, or dialysis, at-home dialysis. These are health concerns that people actually can die. Yeah. We have some legislators now who's in charge who say it costs too much money. It's the storm's fault. But you have to take some fiscal responsibilities and take federal dollars and put into these communities over time and start bearing those power lines. By the time Hurricane Hugo had hit, and we have one recently called Helene that hit, those things would have been done by now. So that's what our approach is, to try to make sure we're doing everything to help our rural communities with broadband, for instance, for the farmers to have better crop, and for instance, things like that. Our children in schools, to have better school, the air system are working in the schools. They don't have to travel to Columbia just to go to school. Well-paid teachers, also give incentives for residents, doctors, to come into those communities to give the health care that the rural communities need.
Okay. All right. We're gonna get into economic opportunities, jobs, and small businesses. So you've been a truck driver, small business owner, an entrepreneur.
Yes.
How do those experiences shape your approach to economic policy?
We are 99% of small business in our state, and that's big. 51% of the employer, but yet we somehow, being the fastest growing state in this country, neglected those small businesses. Yeah. There's a lot of red tape with the SBA. I want to stop that. Give fair loan practices to small businesses. I know this because I've done it myself. I struggled when we had back in 2004, for instance, when we had President Bush at the time. Yeah. We went through the recession, and the fuel costs, for instance, was double. But I didn't have no safety net for my small business, so I struggled just to try to keep that business afloat. So what we have to do is look out for these small businesses and make sure there's some federal incentives going into our entrepreneurships, and also programs that help small businesses grow and expand, because that, like I said again, it is the backbone of our economy here.
What is your plan to address long-standing infrastructure disparities between rural and urban areas?
Yeah, we had to call it out. I talked to people down in some of our communities, especially communities of color, and you know, the attitude is that nobody cares about us. I hear that a lot, and you know, you can't blame it, because it is true. A lot of times our legislators go down there only during the time when they want to vote, you know, things like that. But then once they get that become elected, they forget about them. And so again, I want to bring attention to the problem, and not just bring attention to the problem, find those solutions. For example, like the bill that I wrote, Dane Robinson's Law, is something that affects our communities, mainly communities of color. And so I found a solution to help law enforcement, help families get more empowered to find their missing loved ones, right? And so I think we have to be really creative, come out with solutions to that problem when it comes to where the federal dollars are actually being spent. By, like I said, put that oversight over where that money actually going. If that money is pushed towards healthcare, then we need to go for it to go to healthcare. And that goes with representation, because I've seen right now in our district, and that's one of the reasons why I ran, is that we have a congressman who hasn't been representing our communities. They don't come to the NAACP meetings, will not join our community meetings, don't even care to even hear what our voices, the concerns that we have and how to address those. So it also starts with understanding where people are in real time. And a lot of that comes with also having that experience. If you're not from that community, you might not have so much empathy for that community, but we're going to change all of that, and that's what I'm planning to do. When it comes to our institutions being dismantled, we have 3 branches of government and 3 co-workers branches of government, and one of the issues is that the legislative branch are sitting ducks, in a sense, lame ducks. You could say not actually utilizing the power that they do have to put those checks in place. So the goal is to put checks and balances so we can be able to protect our institutions that we have right now, that actually serving our community, serving our democracy and the people within that community. So I'm looking forward to getting in Congress and being that checks and balances and being the voice of the people.
All right, what reforms do you support to protect voting access while ensuring election security?
One thing is we need a election holiday. It's a right it's every person's right to vote. So the first thing I'm looking at is I think we should have an election holiday. We take time off for Christmas. We should have a day off for election.
That does make sense.
Yeah, so everyone can have. There's no reason why a person won't have the ability to exercise their right to vote. The other thing is we have to dismantle all these legislation that have been introduced and things like that that would make it harder for Americans to vote. We're not going to become a state, for instance, that have to carry an ID or a birth certificate around with us, or the proof of citizenship. This is not that type of country. So we have to try to address and make sure we're doing the reversal of all the things that's restricting us from actually exercising our right to vote. And again, a voting holiday would be one of those things we can do.
Yeah, because I remember when I was younger, you have to ask. My parents had to ask permission to go vote before they go to work, and why not just have the freaking day off so everybody can just
everybody can vote. That's right.
I mean,
that's right.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a really good idea.
I'll write a legislation for it. We'll see where it goes.
That's a good idea. How would you approach bipartisan cooperation in a polarized Congress?
I approach my campaign that way.
Okay.
I put people's over party. For instance, I'm using it as an example because you have to be able to speak to everyone. You have to be able to hear what the other side have to say. But also, main important for me, I still have to understand my values. For instance, I'm not going to support anything that would take someone's right away, because it fits my what I would want for myself. So I have to hear everyone, be able to work together and certain anything that's going to help the American people achieve what's the cheaper goal to help the American people is what I would look for. So when I had crafted Dane Robinson's Law, Help Find Missing Americans Act, for instance, we have a Republican majority here. So I had to go to a senator, of course, it's a Democratic senator, but we had to run it through the Republican Party. This is something that we can find jointly that we can work together on, because it's not just looking out for Democratic voters, but every voter, anybody, non-voter. So you find ways that you can work with the other side to to just come up. Let's just bring that back again, bipartisanship back again to our Congress. I think is very important.
Okay. All right. We're going to move on to housing, public safety, and community well-being. What federal tools would you use to expand affordable housing and support mixed income development?
Yes, definitely going to stop corporate, put a cap on them being able to buy these homes. Because again, that's really driving up the cost. We have, I wish I knew the numbers, but we have a bigger percentage of home ownership by corporations, not people. And so we definitely have to put a cap on how they're able to buy up these homes. A lot of times people think, okay, we selling these homes to someone who to say, hey, I buy for cash. A lot of times those corporations, and so what they'll do is they're flipping and things they do, but they cause the cost to go up. So we're going to have to tackle that. That's one thing. Use the federal side of things to stop that. Corporate, bring some restrictions to that.
It's very big in New York. They do that a lot.
Yes. The drop. We started having here the cost of living going up, but also we have the biggest foreclosure rate. It's Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. We have the most foreclosures in the entire United States right now.
Damn shame.
One thing I want to say real quick, if I can throw in, also again, veterans are losing that incentive, and that's another reason why veterans can't even use a VA loan, for instance, to get housing.
All right, next question. How would you strengthen public safety while also investing in youth program and mental health services?
Well, public safety, I know we have, for instance, ICE running around. That's not, in my opinion, making it safe.
That building, they got the building over there.
Right. Yes, it takes a lot of distrust out of policing, especially if we don't have the safeguards there for or accountability for ICE agents and DHS, Department of Homeland Security. And so we're going to have a lot of accountabilities, make sure that they're wearing body cams, make sure there's no face masks, just to be wearing them. And things like that. That will help with the distrust in policing, first of all. Try to do everything we can to push community policing, and that's very important. I think we have to look for law enforcement who's from that community. For instance, a lot of times we have law enforcement come from one community trying to serve a community, like say a community of color. And they have their biases in their mind versus also who's actually from that community, and they know, hey, this little young man might be doing a little something that not be right, and they just have that communication with him without being so really judgmental, and just have our own biases. And then so I think community policing will be very important, and so to do that, we should have some more training when it comes to biases and things like that with law enforcement. To try to do what we can to push some of these departments to be able to incorporate more community policing and try to hire people from the actual community to be the officers in that community, serve that community.
It's funny, when I was interviewing the sheriff a lot, he was saying that same thing.
Yes.
Saying where everyone should have body cams, and it should be very vigorous training for everyone.
Yes.
And that's a good thing. All right. Okay. So your life story includes being a single parent, entrepreneur, and combat veteran. Which of these experiences most shaped your decision to run for Congress?
My missing son. Again, I never dreamed of being a politician at all. I mean, of course, I'm yelling at television about what this person doing and that person does, but, if I had my way, I'd be that computer engineer. Right now, probably on some beach somewhere, lying. I love water. But what I feel is that, just being a responsible person, a person who's part of your communities.
Yeah.
If you seeing what's happening and you're not doing something about it, that's a problem.
Yeah.
I look at my children, look up to me as their father to do what's right all the time. Again, just by going search for my son like that in that desert, that's natural for me. Now, I don't think that's a reward that any parent should get, because that's just what parents we do.
Yeah.
What I can say is what you do with that, though. You have a responsibility not just for your own children, but for the community that, like I said, you should be serving.
Yeah.
I come from this community. When I heard that voice of other people saying, "Hey, I have missing loved ones," and I actually going through it myself, and I hear their voices in my head, and they tell me their stories, it's only natural for me to try to do something about it. Especially when we start gaining a little knowledge and gaining experience. I'm retired, a military guy. I don't have a job that I have to go to.
Yeah.
So I can spend a lot of my time in trying to find solutions for these issues, and that's what I decided to do.
All right, that's good.
Services we need for veterans, I know too well. I have, I use those services myself. You know, when you come back from war experience, a lot of our wounds are not something that you physically can see, but it's also mental, it's internal, and things like that. So there's a lot of services out there that veterans need. We have a rising homeless population when it comes to veterans who's been suffering, don't know where to get their help from, don't know where to get the counseling from, things like that. So I want to increase federal funding for make sure that we are addressing all those issues and those medical issues that veterans need, and definitely not leaving our fallen heroes behind, our heroes for this country behind. So doing everything I can on that behalf.
All right, so how would you improve transition programs for veterans entering civilian careers, especially in high demand fields?
We have transition programs already through the VA. I've been through a few of them, but a lot of that need to start within the military, the transition, because a lot of times when veterans come out of combat, for instance, they're busy getting some of their health care things, needs done, and that kind of put a whole big delay. So I think if we can try to find ways to start those transition cycles while we're at duty, instead of waiting until you hit the VA system, that would help. But once you do get in the VA system, there should be some incentive for companies and industries that actually would hire our veterans. To kind of bring, like for instance, I'm a combat lifesaver. We have phlebotomists needed in our state, for instance, and those things kind of translate and trans over, so we get a little bit of training through the VA, but also get hired, for instance, some of our local hospitals. So try to make sure that we give some incentive to hospitals and other industries who actually hire those veterans.
Okay. All right. Also, what steps would you take to reduce veteran homelessness and improve mental health support?
Yeah, we have the housing crisis when it comes to veterans. A lot of veterans just don't have support. We have some, for instance, our Vietnam veterans who have been dealing with Agent Orange, and they're dealing with some of these other health crises. But the VA haven't extended the health services for them to address those problems. And so when they don't have those problems addressed, they end up out in the street, especially the mental health aspect of those. They kind of leave them out and say, hey, you're not covered. That's not a VA rating that covers your condition. Or you don't have anything to back, because a lot of times these veterans just don't know where to go to get their medical records, for instance, from the time when they're serving, to foster their claim that, hey, look, I have some mental issues that derive from my war experience. And so a lot of the ratings come from that. So we want to make it easier for veterans to get those ratings. So when they get those ratings, they are able to get the help they need when it comes to support. The housing crisis, we're going to have to stop what's happening with our veterans right now. We cannot destroy what we're seeing the current administration doing right now, destroying some of the avenues for assistance when veterans are using their VA loans for their house and their first homes and things like that, to help them subsidize the cost of that mortgage payment. And so we want to make sure we keep that and fight for it.
All right. Let's move on to environment, clean energy, and climate. resilience. What type of clean energy or green industry projects do you believe are most realistic for SC over the next decade?
Solar. It's happening right now. We see the solar panels helping you go out in the rural communities. Those solar panels out there. But we have to have these programs to teach people how to build these solar panels because they're actually being done here in South Carolina. So that's one way of bringing energy independence away from coal and fuel and things like that. So this is the state is leading the way on that, and so we want to make sure we have people who's out there able to do those jobs to help it grow and keep it going.
Okay. So next question: how would you balance economic development with protecting natural resources like the Congaree River?
Well, we have not just the Congaree River, we have the Savannah River as well, with Savannah Riverside. That's the nuclear facility that runs through there. But yeah, we have to make sure people like, we have Scout Motors who come in, they built these big developments, make sure that these industries that are coming in building, because that's what we have right now, for instance, some of the wastewater and some of the environmental protections around it is actually being set, because a lot of times we're just building and doing things without thinking about the environment. So we have to be very conscious of keeping some of our historic landmarks as well intact and protected. So I'll be looking out for ways to make sure that we're using federal dollars in that way as also to protect those waterways and also some of our historical places.
All right. What role should the federal government play in helping the Midlands communities prepare for flooding and extreme weather?
Yes, it's proper planning. I smile about that because I get real angry about that with this current governor that we have and the guy I'm running against. We have, again, we're a state that has hurricanes and tornadoes.
Yeah.
I mean, that is going to happen. And then with climate change, it's getting worse and worse. We don't want to admit it, but it's getting worse and worse. We're having bipolar weather here.
Yes.
You have to plan, you have to proper plan. You can't just plan for now, you have to plan for the future. You have to plan for our future generation as well. And some of the planning now that we do have to have is only because of the neglect we had in years before. So again, I think that we have to find ways to utilize the technology that we have right now. For instance, again, broadband in those rural communities and unserved communities is important. When it comes to burying those power lines I'll talk about, that's important. You know, you got to be storm ready, for instance. We cannot be taken away from what we see right now in our current administration from our weather science and things like that, that will help us predict crisis and will predict weather before it gets here. So we need to be hiring and getting more scientists who know about the weather and things like that. When it comes to federal funding, we definitely cannot dismantle FEMA. FEMA is one of the watchdogs when it comes to, I used to work for FEMA, so I know the important works of FEMA when it comes to people having food and water when the crisis hit, how to rebuild when a storm do tear up their property, when they don't have the flood insurance, for instance, or they don't have certain insurances that can cover some of those damages, and so they can rebuild. So we have to put federal dollars to have that safety net for our community and people at large.
How has your work through the Daniel Robinson Foundation influenced your views on federal policy and public service?
Yes, well, the Daniel Robinson Foundation derived from my son going missing. I'm trying to do everything I can to help find other missing families, and families don't have to go through what I had to go through just to search for my son without law enforcement's help. But federally, we have 600,000 Americans go missing, but there's no real laws there to try to come to an answer and understand what's happening to our Americans that's going missing. We're going missing at a big high rate, but there's no avenue of finding how, for instance, human trafficking, domestic violence, those type things, how they relate to Epstein files, how those relate to missing American cases. And so what I started thinking of is that we need to just like we treat the missing American crisis, just as we does the opioid crisis, for instance. That affected one community, and they made it real big. But it's almost like the missing American crisis, almost like the crack epidemic back in the day, where they criminalized the crack epidemic, but they look for ways federally to help the opioids crisis because it only affected a certain community. But missing American crisis is affecting people of color, the communities, a lot more.
Yeah.
And so when that's happening, we see that trend where less federal action is happening and trying to understand. So I feel that it's important for me as a person of color to get in Congress and make sure that we're doing what we can to find the reason why we have so many people go missing every year and what we can do federally. I think law enforcement don't have the know-how. Their job is always to find crime and things like that. Missing American cases should be something that happens with the federal government. So we have to have the U.S. Marshals to get involved. So my goal is to push this in that direction because when it comes to human trafficking, who does that? We have the FBI looking into it. We have the federal government looking to the human trafficking. When it comes to drug trafficking, the same thing. When it comes to the mules coming across from the Mexican border, bringing in drugs and things like that, we do that from the federal side. So I think it's safe to say that the federal government has a bigger responsibility when it comes to missing American crisis. And so that's what drives me to find those solutions and utilize the federal government to get those answers I'm looking for.
All right. So what distinguishes you from the other Democratic candidates in the 2026 primary?
Yeah, I have three. I have three Democrats running against me, and I have a Republican that I'm running against once we get past the primaries. I was talking about this earlier. Experience is differentiate me from the other Democrats that's running right now and for the same seat. I don't take away from any candidate, and I'm sure they all have their reasons for running. And I hope to make the lives of the American people, especially in our district, better. But I can't say I'm a 13th generation South Carolinian again. Been here before the state has been here. What differentiates me from when it comes to policy, I'm not a person who's going to just talk, because I think we all have our talking points. Say, hey, when we get in Congress, I want to do this and I want to do this for the people. And we say all these great things and say, you need to vote for me because I'm doing. No, I'm actually doing the work now. I wrote my first legislation. I wrote my first bill before. I really mean when I say I'm trying to find solutions, and I went ahead and done. I taught myself how to write a bill. And I did that, and it's running right now in the State House here in South Carolina, and it will be going up for a vote in the Senate sometime this year to become a South Carolina's law. And also I have a federal version of that. That was the original version to take to Congress with me. So that's going to help a lot of Americans with that missing American crisis that I was just talking about. But when it comes to experience, I've been a single parent. So I know what a single mother is going through, a single father is going through when it comes to living in this economy and trying to take care of your loved one. I've been working since I was 7 years old, so I've worked minimum wage. A lot of these places like Finley Park and some of these buildings down at USC, the hard jobs, I've done that while going to school and know the reason why you have to get a job to try to help your mother make those ends meet from she's been a single parent. So I've been in that household. And when it comes to pursuing your careers and your dreams, though I got an academic scholarship to Howard University, I didn't take it. I wish I would. I was being really smart when I was young. But I know what it is to try to pay for college and the depth of how much it costs to actually go to school, and if you're gonna get that financial aid or not, and that money you won't have to end up paying back. I've been there. Being a single mother, single parent, not single mother, single father, parent, to be able to provide for my children, making those choices that I'm going to continue to school or take care of my children, how they're going to eat tonight, those type of things, making those hard decisions, what job I'm going to take. So I had to live in this economy and trying to make those things happen. Again, finding out that I can start my own business in trucking. I ended up doing that, starting my own business, and I know the red tape when I went to the SBA to try to get loans or try to get help to help my business grow.
Yeah.
I know what it is to pay all of those taxes and fuel costs, and then you go out there and you try to find loans, and you don't have fair loan practices where you're paying back so much money, you're just breaking even.
Yeah.
So you're not really getting paid, but your company is getting paid.
Yeah.
And so I've been through that. I'm patriotic. I joined my clothes business, trucking business, when I started doing very well, thriving. Decided to close business and join the U.S. Army to give this country something great of myself. And I've been driving truck for 13 years, and during the time in Iraq we had convoys going on out there, and I heard about it. We're losing soldiers left and right. What can Dave Robinson do for our country is go join the U.S. Army to be a truck driver for this country. I did that. I ended up in Afghanistan, and because of injuries that I have sustained in my combat experience, I had to retire. So again, I have been through the loss of having a missing son right now, and so I understand. A lot of people they'll look at it. Back when I grew up, it was the milk carton. You see somebody missing on the milk carton, you think it's one person in the whole entire country, but there's 600,000 Americans gonna miss. I would have never known that until my son went missing, and so those things have became very, very important to me. But also the fact that I grew up in my community. I come from an underserved community, so I know what everyone in my community is going through. I have not forgotten. My mother still lives in the community that I grew up in, and we often been left behind. Who was a representative for our community? I didn't know Joe Wilson, who was the current congressman, for instance, until he called President Obama a liar in State of Union address. I didn't know who that was because he never came to our community.
Yeah.
Never asked what we need. Never knew that our streets were crumbling. A lot of people are losing their homes. Didn't care.
Yeah.
So I came to change all of that.
It's good. We need change. We need something good for South Carolina.
Yes. Yes.
Authentic.
We have to. That's right.
Well, I mean, Dave Robinson was a great interview. Answered everything perfectly.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah.
Again, I'm sorry for being late.
Oh no, you're fine. Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. Yes, sir.
Yes, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Dave Robinson on What You Need, the podcast.
I got what you need, we gon' give you what you need. Come f with me, MCS needs, it's about that time.